Welcome back to Crypto Meatheads. Jeff Black. I'm joined by my two bros, Jason Theobald, Andy Peters, and we are three guys in our mid 40s going through an absolute midlife crisis because we're still investing in cryptocurrency, the stock market, and everything else, why it's all just burning and going to hell. But with retirement and all these things starting to definitely come into everyone's mind, aka the Tesla stock dropping, we decided we would explore the world of digital assets and even in today's episode, talk about the market, which we haven't done yet and haven't really covered. But we're going to address the elephant in the room today. Like the market's crashed. Andy's had, or crashed in quotes, and he has some numbers which kind of, I've seen now that I pay attention to stuff that I'm like, I'll look at it if it does something else. But where we as a country have gotten to, and this is something I saw, that I was telling them, I wanted to call the episode title, how did our US dollar get where it went down in value and our assets doubled in value, and that's where we're kind of at as a country. And it was a matter of time before something had to happen. So we're going to kind of talk about it. Andy, you called all these little dots where things went up, down, all around. Now,
Man,
we normally talk about crypto. We're going to move over to the market for this. We'll wrap up with crypto like we always do, guys. Scouts, don't fret. But part of this show is to educate you all as people to know what to do with your money. And now there's other avenues. And I think what Andy's going to talk about today will really open up your mind to what I've seen. So go ahead and let it rip, man.
I'll be honest. It was, to call the largest, and when I say call for, viewers that maybe aren't in the market, is you're basically saying, hey, at this point is where the market's going to drop. And you rarely catch a big move like this. And it was last Wednesday, not this Wednesday, Wednesday before last. I was sitting there looking at the charts and I was like, man, there's so much going on in the market. There's so much order flow coming in, and people are starting to get on the edge of their seats of what's going to be Trump's next move. Well, we know that he had a meeting at 4 o'clock, right before the market closed, which obviously was timed that way. And I told everyone, I was like, guys, today we're going to see a massive move at around 2 to 2:30. I'm going to enter shorts at that time. And then I'm going to look for another short, possibly around 4 o'clock. Because if we enter at 2:30, we're going to catch that initial short. And if anything happens, they know Trump's going to speak. They may try to pump the market up before he speaks, and then just tank this thing down. And sure enough, right at 2 o'clock on the mark, we start seeing that decline. I entered shorts. 4 o'clock came. I entered another short, and then we saw the largest fallout, the largest sell off in any 2 days of trading that we've seen in the stock market in years. It went to, it was like 30, our initial position was like 3,400, almost 4,000 points. And then once it fell, I was like, man, Trump's pushing this tariff thing hard. And he's saying he's standing up to people. He's really punching them in the face. There's no way we're going to go through with it. Like, there's no way he's going to hold China to these crazy astronomical numbers. Kevin O'Leary was like, let's hit him at 400+%. Let's do this. Trump wants what's best, in my opinion, for the U.S., not necessarily to create a war. He lives in this country. If he creates a trade war, he's part of this war. That's too much headache for him. But he also knows how to play chess, piss people off, and get the movement he wants. So I was telling my trading group, I said, guys, there's no way he's going to go through with this. If he went through with this, we're going to see our market crash harder than we did with COVID. That's not going to happen right now. So I was like, and at this point in time, the market had already seen its most massive downward turn. Anywhere you went on Instagram, Facebook, you name it, they're talking about, all the billionaires have lost a combined of $180 billion in a day. And then it was like 260 billion. And they were talking about how, Elon Musk is about to go broke, yada, yada, yada. And it's like, guys, you don't understand how they're playing this game. They are playing chess. He's going to get to the last minute and he's going to remove his tariffs. So obviously that was on Wednesday night. Sorry, no, Tuesday night is when he was supposed to remove the tariffs. So it got to like 11:45, 11:50, and I was like, nothing's came out yet. And sure enough, they pushed through and said, hey, this is what we're going to hit with. This is what we're rolling with tariffs. I said, something seems off because the market's not responding. The market's not moving and volumes died off. So I was like, I'm still going to hold my buy positions because tomorrow morning, if I wake up and he says, I'm going to pause tariffs, we're going to see the largest rip we've ever seen in our life. So the next morning I get up, I jump on a YouTube live stream and I say, guys, the market hasn't moved and it's been bouncing in the same area of a weekly zone that we've had for months. I'm 90% sure this thing's about to rip. And sure enough, man, it ripped and it was the largest push in stock market history that we've ever seen, ever in a 1 day trade. So for me, that's kind of cool because that's part of history everyone got to experience. For every trader that was actively trading that day, that you got to be part of American history. Like this has never happened before. And we were right there on the forefront of it, and we caught the top and then caught the bottom. So it was kind of cool to catch that. And when people say, Andy, how are you so confident that was going to happen? The charts tell us everything we need to know. You just have to be able to pay attention and take your emotions out of it and know that this was what he wanted to play. And then you look now, and all the billionaires in 1 day made like $320 billion added to their net worth. Um, Billionaires are never going to lose. And our country is never going to lose. It's always going to come out on top, and that's what they're playing with right now. And the the media, the American people who are uneducated about it, they just watch the news and read whatever pops up in a headline, whatever their buddies tell them. And I had people come into our house for our daughter's birthday party over the weekend, and they were like, "Dude, I'm just going to be honest with you. I'm cashing out all my stocks." What? Yeah, dude. Me and a few buddies are in cash out of stocks. And then my phone started going off, and people were messaging me during the day. Hey, dude, Monday when the market opens, I'm just pulling out of everything, dude. I've lost so much money. I've lost 20% here, 15% here, 30% here. I'm calling it quits. And it's like, I mean, if you want to do that, you can, but the market's going to be fine. Nah, bro, you don't understand. Everything's about to tank. It's going to be like COVID again. All the stocks are going to rip down. I've got to take what I can. And I'm sitting there thinking, but have you been invested in the market for years? How are you down? Like, let's use some common sense here. Since COVID, we're up. We went up almost 140% within the market. And some markets even went higher than that. If you look at your Googles, your Microsofts, and all them, I mean, they ripped 2, 3x. Some companies even went as high as 8x from COVID. And now that we're down 20%, we're down 14%, or we're down like 15% on the Dow Jones right now, everyone's screaming and crying like a little baby. And it's like, do you not realize how much you're up? Like, did you think this was going to just continue to run forever? A market has to have a healthy correction to continue to be a healthy market. And I think people are kind of blindly just going through reading headlines and reading newspapers and paying attention to all the media outlets, and they think that everything's just going to go to zero. And it's like, that's not how this works, guys.
I think
5 years
part of
from
the
now, we're going to
issue,
look back and laugh.
I think part of the issue is though, at least on my Facebook, I don't get on Facebook a ton, but I do just open it occasionally. You can literally tell the people who are parroting all this media stuff and our 401ks are going to zero. They're Trump haters, at least on my feed. So all logic goes out the window that, well, think about it. If tariffs are so bad, why do all these other countries have high tariffs on us?
I know.
Oh, okay. You know what I mean? Like they're not even willing to think about it. That he's trying to level the freaking playing field finally. And you can't just keep printing money like Biden did. They printed like 8 billion or whatever the hell it was
Yeah.
just to keep up to give the impression we weren't going into any type of pullback. And you
Yeah.
just can't keep doing that forever. So this is the big reset, guys. And as painful as it is, like I'm still putting money in daily. I've done a big buy recently. I'm looking more at stocks at the moment, just waiting for my tax liabilities to chill. Like this is a buying time. It's just kind of hard
Yep.
though, to put your emotions aside, like Andy said originally, but that's what you have to do in this situation.
Yeah, you have to. The moment you get emotional about your money, I mean, I don't know. It's always been that fine line for me because I coach a lot of people just in life in general. And I tell them, how are you so emotional about your money, but you're not this passionate and emotional about your relationships with friends, with your wife, with
Yeah,
your husband?
yeah.
How about being this emotional and tied to it with your body?
Hmm.
Like what would happen there? What would happen if we cared about as much as we put in our mouth, as much as we put into a
Yep.
bank account?
Yep. Yep.
And you can't get people to understand that because money holds such a tight barrier on most people that they can't even see past this wall in front of them, that there's more on the other side. Yeah, like what happens if I start investing over here? Ooh, but if I invest, and I had this call yesterday with a group of gentlemen here in town, There's about a dozen of them, and we were on this phone call, and I told him, I was like, guys, think about this, all of you. And I was calling out every single one of them because it's almost like a accountability group. And everyone had said, I gave them a list of like 10 stocks that we were looking at. And they all said, if the stock gets to this price or this crypto gets to this price, I'm going all in.
Hmm.
All those price points were hit in like the last week and a half. So I was
Yeah.
like, I just need y'all to send me the screenshots of how much you put in. And
Yep.
if you want to take out the money amount, you can. I just need to see the screenshot where you did it.
Yep.
Not a single one of them
Ah.
showed me a
Yeah.
screenshot.
Yeah.
None.
Yeah.
And I went, how pitiful is that, guys? And they were like, well, I mean, it could go down further. I went, no, 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 no. This is what I'm talking about. Everyone
Yeah.
says, I wish I'd have been around when Bitcoin was $100. I wish I would have been around when Bitcoin was 1,000. You still wouldn't have done it because in your mind you'd have been like, but if it's 1,000, it could go to
Yep.
500. If
Yep.
it was 100, it could have went to 50. So
Yep.
don't feed me the bullshit of, man, if I'd have been present then, I'd have went all in because now some of these coins have hit the prices and you've not done anything.
Yep.
And
Yep.
people have to get past that. It's a mental block that I can't fully understand, I guess, because I'm not that person.
Hmm. Yeah.
You know, going back to the thing with China, I actually think that that's way more volatile than most people think it is. And I think that that stuff with Taiwan, like I kind of pay attention to a lot of the things that come out of there, but I will say this in regards to the tariffs, whether you love them or hate them or not, the topic of the tariffs, they bring up good points. Like, why is all our pharmaceuticals made in China? Why is this, that? And I'm like, yeah, man, these are very good points for national
Yeah.
security.
And
Um,
and what's crazy about that, Jeff, is you can take that to a whole other level and say a medicine is made in China that's costing a pharmaceutical place, say, $8. And then they're turning around and selling it for what, hundreds of dollars?
yep.
And they'll say, well, if this was made in America, your medicine would go from $400 to $800 or possibly 1,000. It's like these companies are making that much of a gain on it. Their profitability is so big. What happens if these companies were tied to a specific amount that they could make across the board to where, yeah, it's made in the US, it's no longer $10. It now costs $50. But guess what? You're still selling it for 400. You're still making a $350 profit.
Yep. So you brought up, go ahead, go ahead.
I was going to say so many products are that way where they just want those margins to be so high, they don't want to bring it to the US.
But that's also the point, though, the mindset. They want the margins behind. It goes back to the point you talked about your buddies who want their profits to be high, but yet when it's an impossibility to pull the trigger,
Yep.
they don't. Like, for example, guys, I put $2 a day into Pepe. Just leave it like, because I'm just like, fuck it, like in a couple of years, who knows? Like, it might be something there. And I mean, $2 a day sitting in my bank account ain't doing shit. You know what I
No,
mean?
dude.
So,
If it 10x's, that's $20 a day you just made.
I know. So, I mean, I guess I look at it like you have to decide. And for me, and then Andy, I'd like for you to kind of talk about how people navigate this time and like from an actual, like, not everything's burning and setting on fire, from like a strategical, tactical things people can start doing
Yeah.
come out of it. But the way I look at things is every book I've ever read on money all talks about these massive dips and things like that occur and buying as much as you can then when you can. And I, looked around and saw everybody doing a bunch of panic and people messaging me and stuff. And I was just like, look, man, like, where else are you gonna put that money for a little bit? Like, you have to know that every day you're gonna wake up and still have a job for a little bit, still be able to go earn income. Like that money you get now, like I wouldn't touch it. I'd leave it alone. I'd go, if anything, you're that bored or you're that scared, get a second job. Go stain some decks, go power wash
Yeah.
wherever tickles your ass, But the point I'm getting is so people are so quick to go pull that money back out when I'm like, why don't you just go create more money?
Yeah.
Like they don't think of the counter to it, It's weird. I don't know.
No, I mean, dude, I'm right there with you. I think it's a question that every, viewer and person needs to probably ask themselves is when is the most perfect time to invest?
Who knows?
Just get out a sheet of paper and write down when your most perfect time to invest is. And most people are going to say when something's cheap. Okay. So we've all agreed that when you want to buy into something cheap, what do you consider cheap? Uh, and they'll throw out a price. It's like you can't do that. You've got to look at a percentage. So if a stock is trending at $100 and you've seen at one point in time it was $10, then $10 is cheap, $100 is expensive. How are you buying that stock? Most people will say, I'm not touching it. But what if I told you that stock in 5 years is going to go from 1,000 to $800? Well, I mean, I'd put in 100 grand. Okay. But what if I told you that stock was going to go from 100 to $50? Well, I wouldn't touch it. Again, so when's the most perfect time to invest in that stock? They don't know. They don't have that answer. It's confusion. So when you start looking at it and say, okay, this stock's $100, I don't want to invest now because it's at the highest it's ever been. If it has a 25% pullback, I'll invest at $75. Great. So you already have that wrote down on a sheet of paper. At a 25% pullback, I'll invest at $75. It gets to $75. You gonna invest in it? Well, I mean, Andy, it could go to 50. But you have on a piece of paper right here, 25% is where you're going in at. Yeah, but it could go to 50. Well, yeah, but it could go back to 100. You don't know. So then they invest, and then it goes to 50. Now they're pissed off. I'm not touching it. I'm just going to wait till it gets back. Well, at 50, you can invest half of what you invested at 75, and you're going to be pretty good when it gets back to 75, and even better when it gets back to 100. But Andy, this thing could go to $25. It could. It could also get to 800. I'm just not touching it. They leave it alone, and then they forget about it, and then the stock rips one day to $200, and they're going, God, bro, I should have put so much more in it. What was I thinking? You have to have these identifiers. Own hard, like it has to be a hard plan in front of you, own paper somewhere where you can say, these are the stocks I'm looking at. Have it on, like, you can have it on a trading view chart, however you want it, and have those little lines on there that say, okay, at 25% on this stock, I'm investing and set an alert. 25% on this stock, I'm investing, set an alert. Stocks are going to have those pullbacks. And yes, you may catch a 50%, you may catch a 75%. But nonetheless, if you don't have something hard on paper to know I'm going to invest in it, you're always that person saying, nah, I wish I would have, but I didn't. Or, man, I'm glad I didn't. Or, I don't know when to. And there's no perfect timing. Think about people that were looking at Amazon stock when it was like, what, 15, $20 and going, ugh, that sure is high. Well, now go look at it. There's never a perfect time other than just now. Just do it. It doesn't matter because you're investing money for your future self. You're not investing money for the end of this year. You're not investing money next year to buy a vehicle. You're not going to invest this hopefully to pay your house off. You're investing for your future self years down the road. And that's where that big misconception comes in at, where people say, well, Andy, where can I throw 50 grand to get a 5X? I really want to pay my house off. Well, I mean, hell, if I knew that, I'd throw $1 million into it. But no one knows that. We can take educated guesses. We can look at the charts and see what could possibly get us there, but it's not guaranteed. And everyone goes into this market that's uneducated, thinking there's a guarantee of, well, if I put in X amount, I'm going to make X amount. It's like, no, you could actually lose half of it. And you may not even see it pop back up in your time. It may be your other kids. I mean, it may be your kids that see it. I mean, what? Amazon stayed stagnant for 17 years, I think. For like 16, 17 years, the stock barely moved. Damn. How bad would you have felt if you put 100 grand in that? And for 16 years, you just watch that thing go from like 100 grand to like 105 to 95, 103. Most people would have pulled out. To then all of a sudden, now that 100 grand is worth a ton of money,
Well, I mean, that was me in Bitcoin. I was in the market when it was like, I think the lowest I saw was 1,200 or something.
Yeah.
To me, it was the same mentality. Well, it could go to 7. It could go to 500. Same thing. And so, but I've learned from it. I have no problem putting money in now, and if I gotta wait, I gotta wait. I'm in that holding pattern right now, and it is what it is. I don't need it, so it's the same as I put it in. The dad put it in. I didn't need it then. I don't need it now. So, what's it matter if it's down a little bit?
And like you said, you don't need it. It comes into people have a cash flow issue.
Yep.
If your cash flow is steady every month at a specific number, and we talked about this with Nick Comodino on our podcast we did with him, where he said most people aren't willing to invest because their cash flow sucks. But if your cash flow is good if I know next month I'm going to have 15K in my bank account, why would it kill me to invest 7,500 this month? I've got 15K coming next month and I've got money just sitting in the bank.
Yep.
It's people have this attachment to it so tight, they don't want to let it go because they don't think they're going to get it back.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, 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 it comes back next month. You'll make more money. You'll be okay. You're not going to starve. You're not going to lose your house, your car. It's okay. But people just don't think about it like that, which also shows me they're not comfortable with that concrete job they have. That's the kicker for me when they say, bro, my 9 to 5 is solid. It's not going nowhere. Like it is as concrete can be. Okay, cool. I need you to invest. How much do you make a month? Oh, dude, I make 12K a month. Cool. I need you to invest 12K tomorrow. I mean, bro, I can't do that. Why? Well, I mean, and this is where I love it. Well, I mean, dude, what happens if I lost my job?
Yeah.
Well, you said your job's concrete. It's solid. It's not going nowhere. I mean, something could always happen. So something could happen. And you start to realize that there's that still a little bit of worrisome in there for most people. And that's what keeps them held back from everything.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna tell you something. Since I'm the newest to this world and the newest to like this shit, I look at it like this. All right, man. Well, in 9 months, if everything keeps sucking, I will eventually get even on about half my coins. And then when the shit hits, I'm gonna be rich as fuck. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's exactly how I'm looking at it because
Yeah.
every sooner or later, from what I've seen, and correct me if I'm wrong, you guys would know more, and I think maybe my question, a general population person who's paying attention would know. It just seems like these guys just move their money around. So sooner or later, it's going to roll back into crypto. Sooner or later, they're going to play little chess games with each other and want to see who's getting the better. And it's going to be like, oh yeah, and that's how the ignition's going to go.
Yeah.
Uh, Am I
That's how
wrong
it
on that
always is.
assessment? Pretty much, that it's just more of a now this is a whole nother field you can move your money into and just kind of, it's a little bit more wild, wild west. But I think they like that. I don't know.
Oh, do they love it? I mean, because you got to think for the people that are the big dogs playing the game, there's a lot of money for them to have.
Not you.
Tons. I mean, they know they pull out. Like, why did we see the market crash in December? We were at the highest that we had had all year.
Yeah.
They took profit.
It's a profit. Yeah.
Why are we seeing these bounces on the bottom? They're buying the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
That's all it is. They're
The,
keeping tabs of
I
it.
just don't know why it hasn't moved more. I mean, I still see all these whales buying, and the damn market just isn't moving. I'm like, is this being manipulated? Like, do money the market makers just not let it roll? Like, I don't
It's
know.
not as much. It's not as. I mean, it's big orders coming in, but not as much as you see.
Yeah.
Like whenever you see like Michael Saylor's bought X billion dollars worth of Bitcoin, he probably bought that OTC.
Yeah. I
And
know.
when these guys are buying OTC, you're not moving the market.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're just transferring from one hand to the next. That's it.
How are people finding out about that though? Because I guess they still see it come into his account,
Yeah, yeah. They have access to the wallet address.
so they can see it still hit. Yeah.
Yeah.
what are some tactical things then that people can be doing in terms of like strategies? I know we talked before we started recording, at which point I said you were getting too hot that we needed to start moving because it was good shit. About like $5,000, for example. Like there's difference between you have $5,000 to your name and $5,000 to invest. And I
Yeah.
wanted you to kind of break that down and start rolling with that so people could kind of understand. Because I bought the dip, man. With everyone lighting those fucking Teslas on fire, I even got some Tesla stock. So
I love it.
I was like, hell yeah, man. So is what it is. But go ahead and give some advice, bro.
So yeah, if you got so say the question was someone has $5,000 they're about to invest, that's where they put it in. I would say the question is that $5,000 all you have, or is that $5,000 you have today and you're gonna have 5,000 more next month? If the answer is I just have $5,000 for the whole year to invest in the crypto, divide it by the weeks and then just put that in every single week. Put it on a reoccurring buy. And it takes the emotions out because you may put in $100 this week and it's at a high point, but next week it's at a low point. So now your $100, after 2 or 3 weeks, now breaks even with the one you lost, and now you're up, $200 or $300. And you do that over the course of the weeks, and it just takes all the emotions out of it. Now, if the person's got 5 grand to play with every month, that's a different story. I'd say take the 5,000, break it up, into 1250 a week. And now you're just going in, putting in 1250 this week, 1250 this week, 1250 this week in different projects. Because if you invest in something and then it drops, how are you going to Dawes Collar average back in? If you have no more money, you can't. You're left just holding it, hoping that it gets back to break even. And the game of hope isn't one I like to play, you know? So I just think the long-term strategy is the best in seeing how far you can stretch that money. A lot of people get in the mindset of, well, I'm gonna throw 5,000 in this because I know this make 5x and I make 25 grand. Well, it could also go down and you're not going to make 25 grand. So be sure you still have money on the sidelines that you can dollar cost average into these projects.
Yeah,
And
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
yeah, and talking about Tesla, I mean, same thing. Anytime I see, and I hate saying this, but anytime I see the weirdos that are burning cars on fire, painting buildings, just causing mass destruction. Yes, I did say the word weirdos because I think if you're an individual that will go light someone else's property on fire, you'll spray paint businesses, and you'll do damage to other people's property, you're a weirdo. At that point, you're dumb. There's no education. There's nothing up in the lights aren't turned on in the house. There's something happening wrong. And when I see people doing that, that shows me that okay, we're on the right movement. That some people have been pissed off so bad, they're so unhappy with their life. This company's doing something good, and it typically flourishes and wins really well.
So I was going to tell you guys something really interesting I found out. I'm trying to get into audiobooks just because some of the podcasts I just get burned out on because sometimes you listen to a success podcast, you will immediately walk away what a failure you are for all the things you're not doing in a 24-hour day. Um, and they were talking about it's a book called Pale Horse. And it was this undercover guy. He went in with the outlaws and stuff. But you two would be shocked to know, and I think our audience would know this. So you know how they're painting the swastikas on the Teslas?
Yep.
Yeah.
Do you know who votes for white supremacists vote for Democrats? Like no shit. When he was in this white supremacist group, he infiltrated the base group, and he found out they were infiltrating and getting them all to vote for Hillary because they look at the Democrats as the destabilizing party because they don't believe in police protection. They want to like defund the police, so it will allow them to inject chaos. They're called accelerators. It's a fantastic audiobook so far. I
Hmm.
know Andy like reading and stuff, but
Yeah, dude, I'll check that
I
one out.
say all that because I giggle because they put those swastikas on the Teslas, and I'm just like, but if you guys only knew that the people you say are white supremacists aren't really, but the people who really are voting for you all, like, I wonder how you'd feel about that. But anyway,
Dude, it's
little
we're
funny
we're at
humor.
a wild time of
Agreed.
of of how
I don't
people
get
are,
it.
are viewing things.
It's so much of the hate. Like they can't use logic. It's so
Dude,
much
yeah.
of the hate.
It's Trump
Uh,
derangement syndrome's real, dude.
yes,
Like it's a
100%.
real fucking thing. Like
100%.
we know someone that I'm like, bro, I can't talk to you more about it. Like everything with Trump is a big deal, and I'm like, bro, I can't handle anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like at some point you gotta let a guy do his job. Like, and I want to get your opinion on this from Andy. The only one I'm paying attention to right now is Scott Bassett because all this was kind of his plan with the
Yeah.
economy and things like that. So he's done some great interviews. I've seen him on Fox. I think he was on CNN, some other spots. He's just really soft spoken about it, and he just is kind of like, look, something had to happen. He called it out in the room. Everybody doesn't want change. Doge is a problem. The tariffs are a problem. I don't hear a fucking solution. You know what I mean? And it's kind of
Yeah.
like we were headed for
Well,
disaster if it didn't
and
Yeah.
fix.
We
and
were.
that's a problem most people have. And I've got I don't know if she's gonna watch this podcast. Hopefully she doesn't. But my cousin's wife. I mean, she's the largest Trump supporter I've ever seen in my life, as much as she posts about him.
Right.
Everything that our country does, she hates. Everything that the country does, we're wrong. Everything that they make changes is hurting this group of people. Everything that happens, it's hurting this class of people. Everything that's been said is taking this medication away from these people. And, these immigrants that got kicked out, it's hurting them. And so, I entertained her a bit at first. Just going back and forth, asking questions, all the fun stuff. And then I realized I'm never going to win because there's no solution. So that's
Mhm.
what I'd ask her. What's your solution? And then I have other people that I follow, that not follow that I'm friends with on Facebook that I have been for years. And I ask the same question. What's the solution then? No one has an answer.
No one
And then
knows.
the ones that they do have the answer for, it's so far out in left field, it would never happen. So it's like I was looking at the reports from how much money we'd spent like overseas for like soy production to help them, with crops, to help voting rights, and it's like millions on top of millions and billions of dollars has left our hands into other countries' hands with no questions asked. Zero questions asked. We have been paying $100 to $120,000 for a bag of $100 bolts and nuts because it just happened years ago and they've continued to do it.
Yep.
And it's like, so what's the solution? Well, stop. That would be the solution. But when you stop, oh my God, 100 people just lost their jobs. Okay, so are those people getting paid what they should be getting paid with it? No. Like it's a reset that has to happen. And I mean, I'm sorry, but there's always collateral damage. Unfortunately, when you start making changes like this, people are going to lose jobs. Companies are going to shut down. Different types of medication may be taken away from a group. Like I saw a lady the other day talking about, how Trump has taken away like her food stamps or, some kind of health thing and all this. And yet she lives in a nice house, drives a BMW, and she's complaining about it. Like she's like, I mean, am I not supposed to have a nice house and a nice car? Blah blah blah. It's like, well, I mean, there may be someone that needs it more than you do, but at some point there has to be lines drawn of the people that need help. Let's give the people that truly need help here, the ones who are playing the system. Let's not give them help. And there's been so many people playing the system that have been getting help for years. It's taken away from the people who truly need it. It's like the whole Social Security thing. People are blowing up about that, about now, you've got to prove your identity for Social Security. And people are pissed off about that. Well, why? It could be an elderly person that can't get out of the house and they have to do everything via a phone. It doesn't take much to have someone get you in a car and take you there to verify. Well, what about if they don't have anyone that has a car? Well, how are they getting groceries? How are they getting help? Well, they have a nurse or maybe home health. Okay, see if your home health provider can go verify yourself. People will argue anything, but at some point there has to be checks and balances, and we haven't had them.
Which is how you have the hole that you have now. All I know is based upon everyone always offering an opinion, gentlemen, as business owners, we would agree without solutions, they would have all been chewed up and spit out in the business world.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's tough, right? Like, I had an argument with a guy the other day, acquaintance-ish friend, that hates Trump, and I was trying to say, well, this is a market reset. Things aren't going to stay low forever. It's a great time to buy. And of course, his argument back to me was, well, that works for you, Jay. You have money to buy. I don't. And I'm like, all right, well, I don't know. Whose fault is that? Was that Trump's fault too? Like, I
You're
don't know.
like me, like, what's it, or is it your fault? Maybe you weren't good with money. I don't know. I was that guy. I remember this is the first time ever at 44J, for example, that I have money to even do shit with.
Yeah.
And that was because of my own mistakes. Like I can own that, but to make that comment back, that has nothing to do with what
Right.
you've done in your life. It has everything to do with what I didn't do well with mine.
Right. But you recognize that, and that's why you've corrected it.
Right, but that's the lack of ownership most
Everyone
people
else,
have
it's
nowadays,
everyone
though.
else's fault. It's everyone else's fault, not
I
theirs.
hate that
That's
shit.
the problem. And
Yeah.
that's why people don't change.
Yeah, no, it's terrible. And that's why I agree with you. But it's just fucking funny because that's the first thing someone will say to someone who they think even has a little bit of success is always, well, it's easy for you to say. And it's like, bro, like, yeah, I remember a time it fucking wasn't. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And I know
Dude,
you know that too.
same thing. Anytime I ask people, what's your solution? They always come back and bite at me. Well, you wouldn't understand what it's like because your life is this, and you wouldn't understand what this is like because you've never had to do this. It's like, as much as I hate to say it, and Nick Comodino actually said it the other day, the reason you're in the position you're in is because of something you've done. The world's not always out to get you. And also, the same opportunity lies for most everyone in front of them as it does for me. They just don't want to tackle it. It's like when Bitcoin was $100 and I'm screaming to everyone,
Yep.
buy it. I'm telling
Yep.
aunts, uncles, cousins,
Yep.
friends, Facebook. I mean,
Yep.
I'm all over the place. Buy it. How many people took advantage of that opportunity? When FCCN was trending basically in pennies and went all the way to 11 bucks. How many people got it in pennies? Not many. Ethereum to the trade. I mean, just the trade last week. Hey guys, this is about to rock your world. How many people took advantage of that? I mean, there's so many opportunities that come up every single day. And then when I'm like, oh man, hey, that was awesome. We made 40 grand today. Hey, that was awesome. We made 60 grand or we made 10 grand. Oh, well, I wish I'd have had, you had the opportunity. You chose not to engage. And it's that way with everything in life. Like people will look at your body, Jason, or Jeff's body and be like, well, man, it must be nice to just, you know, eat a couple of meals a day and take proper supplements and get jacked. It's like,
Yeah.
do you know how many years
Yeah.
I've worked on this? Do you know how much work I've put in? Hey, the same opportunity I have is there. You want me to coach you? And people just they don't want to engage. They want to complain, they want to argue, fuss, fight, and sit back on their pity bus and hope something changes for them,
I
And in
prefer.
doing that, they're going to miss the opportunity because there is an opportunity right now. I
every
mean,
time.
this isn't going to last, guys. Just remember, Trump is not going to let his whole term go down as a loser. There
Nope.
ain't no way. So
Trump
that's what I
coin.
keep telling
Buy
myself.
the Trump coin.
Yeah, I mean, I've bought some things right now that are down a little bit. Like we were joking before. I was talking to Andy like 2 weeks ago. I was like, oh, I think I'm gonna buy Suku. We know at 3 cents is usually one of its bottoms. Well, it hit in the twos, but I'm down 3 grand. So what? I put 15 in. It's gonna come back and it's gonna make me a good amount of chunk of change. I just don't know exactly when, but I seized my opportunity. Jeff knows I've been talking about it for a long time. Like, when it gets into threes, I'm gonna do it. I did it. It didn't quite go my way, but I'm telling you what, when it does spike, I mean, I'll be ready to hit that button this time.
Oh
So
yeah, dude.
And I'm in the fives on mine for Suku, and still buying in daily, just bringing that
how many
number down.
coins do you have, Jeff?
150,000.
Okay.
So I got 150,000 that, 150,000 scale. I'm still doing scale every day. I'm doing B3 base every day. Basically, I have $70, well, what, $80, no, whatever 3,000 is. Divide that
Yeah, over the
by
days.
8 coins, and then I figured out how I did. So like I have $2 a day into Pepe, $3 a day into XYO, 7 a day into Arrow, things like that. Like they're diversified. I just left it on auto, and then I'm like, I'll pay attention when I hear the bull market starting to run
Yeah.
and
Turn it
zoom in.
off.
But until then, I'm doing my 401k. I messaged my guy who manages that for me for the time being. I said, buy up some Tesla, please. And he started laughing, said, done. And I said, the next one I want is Viking Pharmaceutical. They're looking at a four-pronged oral GLP, which will hit the market next year. Viking Pharmaceutical has been like an interesting one to watch. Um,
You did go into
Viking
that 'cause I
Ther
asked my
Is
broker
it
about that.
I
is
went
it
in on it.
Viking Therapeutics?
Viking Therapeutics, yes.
Therapeutics,
Okay.
yeah. I've been watching it. One day
I went
I was
in on
about
it.
to buy and it tanked hard. And I haven't pulled the trigger on it because I was like, man, did I hear that wrong? And I haven't had done, and my financial guy was like, actually, I'm not that in up on it, Jay. You know more than me. And I just never pulled the trigger. So you
So
do have
yeah,
some
once it breaks 26 bucks, it's gonna take off.
Viking.
Yep. So you guys remember I said that when it breaks 26 bucks, it's
What's
gonna
it trading
lock
at right
in.
now, Andy?
21.77.
Because
I
I
think I
might
got in
stick.
at six. What was it last? Like 15 or 13. It hit a low.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
so
when
it
I,
dropped. So back in January of last year,
Yep.
it got to $8.
yeah,
I wasn't in them, but I got in where it recently dropped down. There was a correction not
yeah, there
long
was.
ago. It was under 20.
Yeah, it got to 13, didn't it? Or
Yeah.
something? Yeah, because I've been watching it. So,
That's where I jumped in at. I put a couple in on it and I just said, let's do it. I think that oral GLPJ, you and I both know, and Andy, you can even agree with this with what you've seen with because you're in the fitness space too. You get people to take an oral GLP,
that
especially if
works.
it's got a
Yeah,
fourth prong, and the fourth
yeah,
prong, I can't remember what it does because at this point they're just making like these freak things. Oh, it's got exercise mimetic with it. That's what it
right.
is, if I'm not
Yep.
mistaken. I'm like, hell, I'm gonna do it. And they're looking at, I want to say, an oral testosterone that is apparently able to be stable. So I don't know.
Oh,
Be
wow.
excited to see. They got a lot of cool stuff, man. They're Sweden, right?
Yeah. So Jason, are you bought into it yet?
Not yet. When it tanked, like Jeff said, I told my broker I was interested and he didn't know much about it. And then I just got busy and didn't.
Yeah, because I'm gonna start talking about it And when people start buying it, the price is going to shoot up.
Yeah,
Are you in
I
it?
just spent a bunch of cash to sit in my money market with my financial guy. So I might just throw 5 Gs in or
Yeah,
something.
because it's got a, I mean, dude, it's sitting right there on the cusp of a breakout. And if it breaks out, I mean, it's going to see a 40 to 60%
Percent
increase
change.
immediately.
Yeah.
I put 35 J.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I mean, I have where every year the way it works, my 401k, he'll put in like 70, 80% of it, and we'll leave a little bit on the sidelines for some stuff when they kind of dip to
You
strategize
know
to
what's
buy.
cool now, Jeff? You might talk to your guy. I don't know if they have this kind of in like, connections, but in 401ks and retirement accounts, you can now buy into venture capital uh companies. So
I've
my
seen
my
some.
financial guys has some different what that they brought on. And most of them are the one that they brought on. It's a 10-year hold, but who cares? I can't touch it till 59. It's already in there. And they're returning like 40%. So, that's way better than the stock market. You think maybe 10% on average. So you might want to look and see if your guy has any
I'll have to ask. That's really well.
Yeah,
Um,
40% solid.
yeah,
yeah,
especially inside
yeah,
retirement account. I can't touch it anyway. So if it's
Yeah.
aside for 10 years, it doesn't matter to me.
that's my view. What else would you like to cover before we get into like our coin review and some crypto stuff to wrap up? We
I,
could
Man,
pound into the ground about people being scared but scared money makes no money.
I think we should talk real quick about what happens because this is going to happen. It might happen here in the second week of May. Andy, what do you like right now is probably a decent time to buy, right? Because rates are probably going to drop. I mean, Powell's going to have, I mean, he's trying to be a dick, but he's going to
yeah.
have to drop rates, right? Like probably 2 times at least this year, maybe
Hmm.
more.
Oh, they're calling for four.
Are they? Okay.
Yeah.
So, I
Yeah,
mean,
there should be Ford this year.
in his history, generally, that's like pouring gas on the crypto market, isn't it? I mean, that generally moves.
Yeah, I mean, what we're going to see move the crypto market right now is countries just to start really pushing it hard. All the countries that are talking about buying reserves are trying to
Yep.
buy reserves OTC, which
Yep.
doesn't move the market like
Yeah.
it doesn't.
Yeah.
So we need the retail side and the banking side to really start cranking this thing up to get it moving. And these altcoins are going to be our money makers. So again, it's people believing in the market. And anytime you'll notice when there's a downward trend across the economy, downward talks, news is bad, the market doesn't move. Everyone's afraid. Like you said, scared money doesn't make money. And unfortunately for us, we want people to be happy and not scared. So everyone starts making money, off these projects.
Yeah.
100%, 100%. What is how long do you think the crypto bull run even does happen this year at this point? I see everybody still saying later on, later on, later on. I agree somewhat with you, but I still think, man, Trump's got to get out in front of it.
He
Trump's just
does.
got such a loyal following with MAGA, man. That's like a cult of personality right there. And when he usually does something, they all do it. That's why I think that sooner or later you're going to see a lot of MAGA go buy Teslas, and I think that shit's going to surge.
Yeah,
Well,
I'd,
don't
I'd
you?
love I'd love to see, this whole thing with the tariffs run, work on, the taxes, get
Yep.
these tax-free coins rocking and rolling.
Yep.
And if that happened, we would see the crypto market surge in a way we've never seen.
I'm hoping, man. I keep doubling down on my tax-free USA
Yeah.
coins. I haven't touched it. 5 Gs a month, so we'll
Yep.
see.
Andy, I'm going to ask you a question that I was asked the other day.
All
And
right.
this is going to be about as we kind of get into the crypto and the coin reviews. You had money in XYO. Would you take the money from XYO and move it over to Cardano? I said I don't know because I don't operate like that. But I guess the person was even or above, and they were kind of, I guess, looking at what the meat of XYO versus the meat of what Cardano does. And I thought that might be a question of how you rate, because like Nick said, Shepard on that episode we did, not getting out of
Yeah.
coins at the right time and kind of like riding them too long, you know what I mean? And I guess that was maybe where that came from, but my mind goes there, and I don't know, Jay, you can throw some input into
I
how
will.
yours.
I own it. I own
Yeah,
it. I
yeah,
probably
and
own
yours.
it pretty deep.
Yeah, so it's kind of like, hey, do you maybe skip around and throw that around? Do you keep the diversification going? What are your thoughts on some
Yeah.
strategies like that?
Yeah. I feel like when you're bouncing from coin to coin to coin to coin, sooner or later you get burned because you're not going to catch the top and you're not going to catch the bottom in another coin. And I've watched people do it. Like they put in 10 grand, they turn that to 16 grand, they take that 16 grand, throw it in another coin, they turn that 16 grand to 22 grand, they throw it in another coin, and then the 22 grand goes to 8 grand. And then
Yeah.
they're like, well, shit, if I'd have left this in the original coin, it just went 3x. I would have had freaking 40 grand. So I feel like when you're chasing those jumps to jumps to jumps, I don't think it's a good idea. I just really don't. I've been there. I did it back in the early days, and I got lucky. And there was one coin. It was called it was ADX, and I literally got out at the top to flip it, and the coin I went into was Omni, and I was like, cool, this is solid. And I was like, you know what? Someone's telling me I need to just take this and put it, in Ethereum. And then I was like, no, I need to go back to ADX because ADX fell. I caught the top and it'll push back up.
Yeah.
Luckily, I put it in Ethereum. Had I not put it in Ethereum, all the money I'd have made from ADX to Omni, if I'd have went back to ADX, I'd have lost 75% of it.
Mm. Yeah.
Damn. So that's a good
I
lesson
mean,
for people to hear, for the kids to hear.
yeah. And guys, let's put in that perspective. Andy literally charts and knows exactly what he's seeing on the screen. And if he doesn't think he's even going to do that strategy, do you think you're going to be better than Andy? I know I'm not. So I don't know. Personally, I have XYO, man. I'm still doubling down on that motherfucker. I have 16 bucks going into it daily. I now have 162,000 coins. I am down. My buy-in, my average cost is 0.015, and it's sitting at rounded 0.012 today. So, I'm down, but these cheap coins like that, I think when the market runs, are going to be places where people put money.
Yep.
So whether it's going to be here in 10 years, which probably maybe it won't, because how many of these really coins that help you move dollars are going to truly be the go-to? I mean, there's only so many the banks can use, but I think this guy will run when the market comes back, and I will be looking to exit this one. I will not get rid of all my XRP. I'll ride that bastard. I think it will eventually be a big coin, but I will take profits in everything when this market moves. XYO, I doubt I will ride, but I am not getting out of it at the moment. Just my opinion.
Yep.
What do I know? I mean, so.
No, I think that when I got the question, I was like, yeah, how would you know when it's too long? You know what I mean? Or too much
Just
of
so
a
you
loss,
know,
this or that.
XYO right now is up 30%. So if you've been dollar cost averaging in or buying, yeah, it's a nice rip today, just FYI.
Yeah. And from, I was about to say, from its bottom out at the 0.00749 to where it sits right now is 54%.
Yep.
I
So
mean,
it
that's
moves. That's my
huge.
point, guys. Like, don't you think that'll move bigger when money actually comes in? Like right now,
Yeah.
we're a little green today, but most shit ain't but 3%. That's up 30%. So that's
Yeah.
where people look to park their money when people like retail comes in. So I'm holding it for that reason only. I don't know that it's going to be around in 10 years. I have no idea. But
Yep.
Ondo's up 12% today. I'm deep in Ondo. That's staying strong at 91 cents. That's not a bad price on that, to be honest with
Mm.
you, with everything else the way it's down. So that's up 12 as well. So, anyways.
Let's get into coin review. That being said, why don't you start with Ondo, Andy?
Yeah, man.
We are covering that.
Start with what now?
Ondo.
Ondo.
Ondo. So Ondo right now actually had a really good push.
Yeah.
If we look at so if you have a chart, just look at the daily zones, and when you see a bounce where it just keeps going, it's consolidating, it's not going down further. That's typically a good point to get in from its daily bounce. It's up 29% for the day, so not bad. It's right back into our box that we had. So anything that's below 95 cents right now is a really good buy-in for Ondo. Once it gets out of 95 cents, it'll probably jump to $1.23. So that's going to be a substantial gain. I mean, from 95 cents to $1.23 is going to be a 30% gain. So not bad. If you were playing the bottom on these daily zones, it'd be for 71 cents to $1.23, which is 73%. So you can see that dollar cost averaging makes it even better when you get in on those lower plays. Next up is our beloved Suku, which fell down. I've not seen it at 2.5 cents forever. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen it 2.5 cents.
You can't time the bottom, but goddamn, I wish I would have waited 3
Man,
years.
dude, yeah, it hit 2.5 cents. So I tell everyone, if if Suku's below 3 cents, 3 cents and below, that's just a buy area. I mean, there's no
Yeah.
question about it.
I might even throw another five in right now just to
Yeah, dude.
even
I
it
mean, it's
out.
so low. Scale is at a penny, almost 2 cents right now. It's setting own its breakout zone. So I mean, if it does go from here, it'll touch our other low point, which will be a 21% run at 2.5 cents. So not bad for scale. And like, Jay just said, as cheap as this stuff is, when things start running, these cheaper coins run really good because it's so cheap for people to get in on. So, I mean, you think about where it was just back in January, from the price now and scale back to January is a 2.5x, which is freaking huge. I mean, that's unheard of. So, scale's looking solid. Next up is going to be Dent. Dent's good. It's setting at 0.0006. It had a nice little daily push when we had that low day with all the tariffs and stuff. So it's like a 20% gain. But anything for Dent, below basically 0.0007 is going to be a nice buy area. So it's right there.
Mhm.
Render is setting at $3.72. It bounced in our last day low area we talked about, which was on March 11th at $2.52. So, excuse me, it bounced and it has shot up 45% for the day, which is huge. So super stoked to see that. Actually, it took it 3 days to get into that area. But anything that's below $4 to $4.20 for render right now, it looks great. I would say watch render on the chart and just see if it gets a pullback. If it gets a pullback, then that'll be good for it. Um, XRP Army is holding pretty steady. It bounced on our buy zone. So we said we had a buy zone at $1.63, and it literally bounced on $1.63 on April 7th. So from that buy area, which would have got triggered, you're up 23% on it. So anything 225 and 163. So $1.63 to 225, anywhere in between those, it's considered a good area for XRP. XLM is still setting way below our buy area at 23 cents. So it's a solid one.
Mhm.
I know we keep saying a solid one, but it's just setting in that same zone, which makes it a great area to put
Yep.
into.
Yep.
H bar, had a nice bounce that we put out on it. So we had a channel set up 12 cents, which was super low. It's setting out at 16 cents. We've said really anything above 15 cents is a solid, push area. So being able to get in below 15 cents is ideal. But I mean, obviously, if you're still playing the game, it's way below our 23 cents that we were
Yep.
looking at.
Yep.
So from 16 cents back to our first buy area we had when we were talking really heavy about H bar is almost 40%. And then last up, can't forget it, B3. B3 is just, it's low. When you look at it on the monthly, it's bottomed out. We only have 3 monthly candles to go on, so not a lot of data there. So we just say B3 is cheap. It's 3/10 of a penny. So, I mean, if you can afford 3/10 of a penny, that's solid.
What about soy and B3 base?
He just did
Soy,
B3.
Yeah, B3 we cover, and then I
yeah.
was about soy.
Talking about Sui,
Sweet, yeah.
yeah, dude. I mean, Sui's come down a pretty good bit. It's at $2.19. And I mean, it had so much hype behind it. People were talking like $10 out of it. I mean, just back to its all-time high is a 1.5x. So, and it bounced in its area, which was a support for March of last year. So I think if it can push above $2.40, we'll continue to see it rise. If it drops below $2, then it's probably going to fall to about $1.20, $1.40.
Damn. That one's like the golden baby too.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens there.
What about B3?
Oh, we just covered it.
Oh,
Did.
okay, yeah, I'm sorry.
Yep. You're good. You're good. Yeah, I covered
No.
B3. It's basically I just said it's so low. There's only 3 months of charting
Yep.
candles, so it's just a buy. I mean, B3 is so cheap. It's 0.0003
Wish I
and
just bought
sorry,
it.
0.003, 3/10 of a penny. And I mean, if this thing shoots back up, I mean, it's a 4x. So it's like what? Throw in $100, you're gonna get 400 if it goes. I mean, no one cares about that. That's just a something to throw money in and gamble it away.
Yeah, no, that's kind of where I look at it. Well, gents, or anything else y'all want to talk about today?
Dude, I'm solid. I think we covered a lot of ground today.
Yep,
Yeah.
I agree. I
I
agree.
think we should ask the Discord group, and hell, if you guys are listening, throw us some stuff that y'all like us to cover.
Yeah.
Right now we're just kind of watching the market and giving our thing. And I'll be honest, like, you're hearing straight from us, and I think that we're the kind of people you sit down and have a beer with, and we shoot the shit with you. We're still buying, like,
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
I
not
can tell you
listening to
right now.
anybody else. So
I can tell you right now, guys. Take it from me. I've been that guy who once it cools off, I stop buying, and every freaking time this shit comes back, and then I do the mental gymnastics of what I would have made if I'd have kept doing what I was doing.
Yep.
This time I'm leaving it on. So we'll take stock or where everyone's at in a year or so. But if you got some cash to put in, it's not going to break the bank. You know, go into projects you believe in, and that's what I'm doing. Bitcoin, Ondo, Algo, XLM, HBAR. You pick
Yep.
yours and see where you're at.
I love it.
guys, we all
Solid
have
show,
yourselves
gents.
a beautiful one. Potty hard. Bye bye.
See you.